You're listening to The Building Code, your guide for a better way to run your business. I'm Tom Houghton.
I guess I'm Paul Worth.
That's great. That'll work for today. Let's bring on our guests. We've got in the studio joining us live. We're joined by Nick Wilcox and Josh Bundren of Evolved Structures, co-founders there. Hi, guys.
Hey, how's it going?
How you doing? Thanks to have us here.
Welcome in studio.
In the studio.
A studio that Nick knows, right? Because one of the unique things about this podcast and Evolved Structures is Nick used to work for Buildertrend.
That I did.
So we thought that would be interesting for the listeners to hear from you, because we've had some of our customer success members on before, and they sort of tell what the job is from an X's and O's, tackles and blocking kind of thing. But I think you can kind of talk about your experience as a customer service rep, and then how that evolved into owning your own business.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's...
So we'll tee that up. First, though, as we do with everybody who we have on the podcast who are Buildertrend clients like your business is, we want to hear about your profile. Sort of, what do you do? How do you go to market? What makes you special? How many employees you have?
And let's start with the name. How did
we always do this.
Exactly.
We always do this. We want to know how people get their name.
Yeah. What was the evolution of it?
It evolved into this name somehow. How is that?
We could just keep going all day.
This all episode?
Yeah.
I think it was just how we started the process and seeing what other people were doing. It just kept saying the process was evolving, the product was evolving. So we thought somehow we've got to get this in the name. I don't know if it's going to sound good or not, and then stick it to a logo. And somebody said that looks good. So there you go.
There you go. Your story is probably something that is very familiar to a lot of companies.
To a lot, yeah.
I mean, it's not like there's not a whole data science team behind every decision as relates to your name of your company. Sometimes it just feels right.
Yeah.
Nobody's grandpa was named Evolved or anything.
Right.
So.
Sure.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Cool. That's a good story. So what do you guys do? Like, tell me about your business if you had a 30-second pitch at it.
My background's in real estate, and I've worked with builders before, and our other partner, Ryan, for 3 years now, we've been looking at the market here in Omaha and seeing what was missing. So there's an entry-level market type home that people weren't getting. They weren't getting finishes, they weren't getting processed, they weren't getting service. So we've been brainstorming this for years, and we were lucky enough that somebody introduced us to Nick, and the three of us put our heads together and it just meshed.
That's awesome.
So you guys are based in Omaha, Nebraska. That's where our headquarters is Buildertrend. Obviously, we're in over 100 100 countries and have builders all over the United States and North America. But your story is probably not unsimilar to some of their stories, right? Like, you see a need in a market and you feel like we got to fill that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's capitalism at its best.
Right. That's every industry, right?
Yeah. So that's not just building. That's everything. So what does the customer want, and what are they not getting, and how can you do it and do it in an efficient manner?
Yeah. Elon saw that Tom was a mark because he hated all that gas, and so he created the Tesla for Tom.
Just for me. It was really just for me. We're best friends now, so
that's a podcast joke. Tom has a Tesla. Our listeners know that now.
They do.
They should be very well versed.
They are very.
Have we
very
ever
well
put your Tesla on the show notes?
Producer Kaylee.
Not yet, we will.
Oh.
It's on.
Check the
out
show
the
notes.
show notes for
exclusive pictures of Paul and Tom riding in the Tesla.
I haven't been in it yet. Let's go.
It's true.
Dairy Queen run.
Shout out to Dairy Queen for sponsoring the run.
Free sponsor.
Yeah.
Okay, next time you're paying DQ.
Exactly.
All right. We
back to Evolve.
Again. A lot going on here.
Yeah.
So Evolve Structures, you guys do single family homes, I assume, from that, Josh, and it's entry level. And what was the market missing? So explain sort of what your thesis is.
What was the need?
There was a couple of large production builders here in Omaha, and one vacated the market years ago, and then kind of left with one, and they were putting one product forward. And what we were seeing on the real estate side of things is there's people either in their first home or their move-up home that were looking for something, and the buyers shifted now from what it was 20 years ago. You've got millennial buyers that don't have the same needs, but the product was still the same as 20 years ago, we felt. So we did a lot of studies. We took buyers out, questionnaires, buyers agents. What are they looking for? What are people saying when they go into either existing and new construction homes?
That makes sense.
And then base the business kind of off of that need. So that's where it all started, and it was a lot of, pen on bar napkins and throwing ideas out, late night phone calls, trying to figure out, hey, I've got a great idea, and then it just kept moving.
Yeah.
So that's interesting because that is not an easy market to get into when it comes to entry level, right? Like, you can be a framer or a real estate agent or a designer and say, I'm working with all these custom home builders. It can't be that hard. Like, I'm going to go do one custom home. I'm going to find the client. They're basically going to finance my business because I'm going to do a home. They're going to do my first home with them. Not the same when you got to go out and buy a bunch of land and develop plans. And, am I right? Like, that's,
yeah. We've both worked with custom home builders before, and everybody thinks that's great. They want to go out and work for a custom home builder. It sounds sexy. Not saying that there's not a great market for that, but what we saw was that there's an entire segment of the buying population that's being completely missed, and it's because it's hard. It's hard to figure out efficiencies of business to keep the cost down while still delivering a nice product. So that's why it took so long. I mean, we had to figure out great products. We had to get great relationships with subs and with some of the providers here, and it took a while to do that. But putting that together with the systems that we're putting in place here with Nick, that all goes together. So it's got to be a very scaled, efficient from start to finish process for us to be able to deliver a good product and deliver it at a price where it makes sense for people.
And also, who had the super rich uncle then? Like, where's the capital come from? And you don't have to answer that question, but like, that's a piece, right? Like, that does keep most people out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think Ryan and I pretty early on were pretty passionate about this, and we believe that, we're both kind of come from a little bit of a hard-nosed background, blue collar, want to, grind it out. So we figured if we put our tail out there, we're not going to let it fail. And, we knew we had to find a kind of a strategic partner and somebody that could be kind of boots on the ground that knew a lot about the business side or the building side of things and the efficiencies of that, and met Nick, and we all just kind of meshed, and there's a lot riding on it for a lot of us here. So, but I think that we all have enough faith in the product and the faith in the team that it's going to be a good success.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen that. And look, Omaha is probably a little unique in its market size because there's no national builders here. There's no regional builders here. And that alone makes it unique. There's one player who does a sizable volume, maybe another one a little bit under that or half that, but that does open up an opportunity. I'm wondering why no national builders or regional builders have ever jumped in, honestly.
Not like they need to come.
No.
We're good
away.
here.
Stay away.
We've had one that came in a few years ago, and there's a couple
that came out.
Yeah, there's a couple now that are dipping their toe in. So I mean, that's going to happen. So you just have to be ready for that, and you can't let that necessarily affect all the decisions you make. You've got to be able to deliver a better product.
Because you guys know this market better than everybody, right? You grew up here. So there are some unique characteristics of people who live here that gives you an advantage.
Yeah.
Truly.
If you had to sum up one thing that you feel like, you're saying from all this research that you were doing to find out your clients' needs, if you had to pick one thing that like stood out to you as like, hey, yeah, we could easily fill this need in this entry-level product, what would that be?
I've done a lot of, being in real estate, do a lot of research on millennial buyers, and a lot of millennials are being pushed to renting right now. It's for a number of reasons.
By whom? What does that mean? Just price point? They're pricing out of it?
One is that the product that's out there right now, they don't want bigger necessarily. They want better. So, and it's, kind of economy driven. So you have these, what they call, mini mansions or McMansions that people were building 25 years ago. They don't want 3,000 square feet. They'd rather have 1,800 efficient square feet with nice materials in them that, they can live in and won't deteriorate in 3 years. So something they can kind of be proud of, and something that has a design flair to it. So we kept hearing those things over and over again, and that's where it started.
So first-time home buyers, they have a couple options, right? I'll speak to Omaha, but I'm sure it's very similar everywhere else. You buy an older home, oak paneling everywhere, and older appliances, and I think the level of what we expect even at like 19, 20, 21, 22 years old is pretty high right now. Like, I want it to look nice, I want it to be nice. So you got to buy an older home that you probably don't really love, and then you got to put some money into it, and if you have money, if you don't have money, you got to wait a few months and then or years, and that's not great. So your option is go buy a tract home. But these tract homes are just that. They're tract homes. They're not really thoughtful. Maybe they're a little bit bigger than I want, probably a little bit more expensive than I want. So is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the younger buyer now, they're not, our parents' generation, they don't know how to fix things generally. They don't want to fix things.
That's a really good point.
They don't want to do those types of things. They want to spend their time doing other things. I mean, they're more active, doing outdoor activities. They travel more. So they don't want to spend their time refinishing a kitchen themselves. Nor some of them have the money to do it, because it's not like you're going to be able to get a loan if you're 22 years old to go out and remodel a kitchen. So they'd rather they have buying power if they've got a good job, but they don't necessarily have a lot of capital. So for them to go out and buy a new product, something that they can live in and not have to worry about breaking down on them, that's a key for them.
Sure.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah. So you guys are...
Hold on, Tom.
Ooh.
What was your first home?
My first home?
Yeah, tell me about your experience.
Well, I rented until just recently.
California?
Well, yeah, of course, rented in California.
Tommy-
Can't afford anything there.
Tommy Hollywood.
That's me.
So that was all rental.
All rental.
And when you came back here, oh, good point.
Yeah.
So you're not.
So I
really,
rented,
You're
and
not
then-
really the case today because you were a little bit older.
Yeah, a little bit older. I
And-
kind of missed the boat.
Right.
I waited.
But how'd it work? So you
Well, we of course reached out to a whole bunch of builders because we thought, yeah, I'm young, I want something new. Like you said, we don't necessarily need all the square footage. And part of that too is, this economy with building costs going up to the roof, you just can't get all that square footage anymore because it just costs so much to build. So we were okay with that though, and reached out to a few companies, and of course nobody called us back. And so that, of course, was an initial damper to the process.
Teaser, because I want to get into that. We'll talk about your sales process. But go ahead.
Yeah. And then ultimately ended up just doing the what probably a few people here in Omaha have done, which is just getting frustrated with the new market and said, forget this. We're just going to go buy a
You meant
standard home.
Moving with your parents or something.
Oh, no.
No, okay.
Yeah.
People shouldn't do that.
That's
not a good idea.
We don't encourage that on this
So you-
podcast.
you-
Go out there and
you-
find something.
You bought an existing home. And
Bought an existing
you've
home.
Probably done some tweaks to it.
Oh, yeah.
Which is kind of a pain, right?
The oak stuff, got to get rid of it, right?
De-oak.
Although
your
it's
home.
coming back around. No?
Eh,
Maybe? I don't know. That's what I'm hearing
we have
from people.
somewhat of a designer in the room.
Yeah.
And she
gave me a 50-50 though.
That's a
I got
hard-
like a maybe on it.
That's because she's nice.
Thank you for being nice.
It's a hard no.
Yeah. But one of the things that you guys mentioned on your website that I thought was awesome is offering a customer-centric experience. And that sounds like one of the pain points that I faced myself. I really appreciate when builders have this in mind of providing a better customer experience. So maybe you guys can share your story and your heart behind that.
Yeah, with our customer experience, a lot of it is going to be built around the Buildertrend platform. We wanted a place that,
Like the sounds of that.
putting a plug in for you.
Yeah.
We built it around that because we wanted to kind of build this experience for them that's not overwhelming. Because I feel like when I built a house, a lot of builders are like, go here, make this selection, make this, dealing with all these allowances, things like that. We didn't want to do that to the client. We wanted
You mean the hassle of like traveling and trying to remember your allowance and going to the thing and dealing with the sales rep who maybe isn't the greatest thing, and then somehow communicating that back to the builder?
Yeah,
That part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Or the client getting frustrated because they go into these big showrooms and there's, thousands of things for them to select from, and they want to go, well, we want this. Well, that's triple what your allowance is. And then
that'll
they
be a
get
charge for
frustrated
that,
and things like that. So, we heavily have utilized the selection section of the program to build this experience for the client where they can come in and have this feeling that they have a ton of options to choose from, and they're going to get this real custom feel to it. But kind of in the background, we've kind of twisted their arm into which direction to go. So we kind of looked at, what's trending in the industry, what's popular. Let's give them this selections. And then we kind of built into the pricing of our homes so that they can just go through and click. There's not all of these potential I clicked this and now we have,
10,000 extra.
10 or 20 or $30,000 in extras, and now we're priced ourselves out. So kind of that hassle-free, let them really enjoy the experience. We have all the products that they can come and see, so they can see that tangible item and touch it and feel it.
Which some people want to do, right? It's not always going to be all digital.
Yep.
But you're controlling that whole environment, right?
Yeah.
You're controlling the conversation.
Yep.
Which is good for everybody. That's not handicapping people. That's just making sure that we're efficient with our time. And here's what you have.
What's those weeks that we spent talking to buyers agents, and then Nick and I spent countless time at all the subcontractors and vendors going through selections, testing them out with potential buyers to see what worked, what didn't work. So those things are there. They're probably things that people were 95% of the time going to choose from some of those selections anyway. Like Nick said, why send someone to a showroom to have them overwhelmed and ultimately disappointed because maybe they think that they're not getting something.
Yeah,
they
it's
don't
like-
know the
Sure.
difference between $5 tile and $25 tile
Right.
when they see it on a wall. So let's keep them excited about
It's like if I
because they
went
started
to
at excitement.
Yeah, if I went to a car dealership and every car, I thought they were all the same price when I got there, and every car was in front of me, like from the Camry all the way to the Tesla, in terms of price points. It's
What
like
if that'll come back around?
you if you go to that car lot thinking, okay, well, these are all options for me, I can't wait, and then I go there and like they say the Tesla is X amount more than the Camry, you're like, I'm disappointed. I shouldn't be disappointed because I signed up for the Camry, right? But if you give me all the other options and let me think that they're available, like they're going to be in my price range, well, it's automatic disappointment.
And I've sat in on those meetings with potential buyers, with some of the track builders and even with custom builders, where I want this, I think this is what I'd like to have. Well, that's not even an option for you. You can't do that. So there's more no's than yeses. So
And that's not a good experience no matter what industry you're in.
yeah. So it's like, how can we front that off to where everything that they're potentially thinking, there's a great answer for them, and they're going to be excited from start to finish.
Just for the record, the analogy doesn't work
Okay, here we go.
because
He's gonna put on
the
his
cost
sales
per
mode.
mile, average cost for a Camry versus a Tesla, the Tesla's actually cheaper. Just for the record, putting that out there.
I didn't insinuate otherwise, did I?
Well, a little bit.
I put a little inflection in my
little
voice,
bit.
but what does that mean? Who knows?
Well, we're clarifying.
Clarification understood.
Thank you very much.
There you go. So this all makes sense. This concept makes a lot of sense. I think anybody listening to this makes sense. Obviously, if this is the business you want to be in home building, there's a lot of different ways to do it. Is it working?
So far, I mean, I guess the proof's in the pudding. We'll find out here pretty soon. With where the neighborhood that we're developing and that we're in is up and running. We've got 4 foundations going, so we've got a lot of traction with both buyers and buyers agents. So,
Great.
And the price point that we're in, it's typically a buyer that's going to buy, 90 days out. They want to see something. So,
So we're building speculative right now to get some proof out there, right? And that makes total sense. Every neighborhood like that has a home like that, or model home, right? Is that what they call it?
Yeah.
Are you calling it something different because you're new and unique?
No, we've got 4 spec homes out there,
Okay.
and we're going to treat one probably as a model, but in business everything's for sale, so
Yeah.
we've got
There you go.
plenty of lots ready to start new
you
homes.
go.
So
Good.
That's awesome. So you've started in the subdivision, and I was looking on their Instagram earlier. You should follow them on Instagram. It's at Evolve Structures. Okay, so follow them on Instagram. I'm sure they'll give you a follow back. Remember, we talked about that as a community of listeners here. We can help everybody kind of grow their account.
Good callback. We need to do this every episode. So every listener. By the way, did you know that we had 42,000 downloads in 2019?
It's pretty impressive.
Pretty good, right?
Yeah.
This might hear 42,000 plus years, gentlemen.
Yeah.
So anybody listening today, go to where? What's your handle on Instagram? I should know this.
At Evolved
Evolved with a D.
Structures.
Yeah, there you go.
With an S at the end too. Plural structures.
I'm following right now.
Perfect.
Okay. Everybody else do the same.
That's
and
right.
we're going to do this for everybody who's on the podcast because it's a community.
It is. But back to my point. So I was scoping them out on there. You had some of your renders of the houses on there. And so I saw that first. Then I went to the website and I saw the price point and I was like, what? Because the homes that I saw on there, your designs are fantastic, very contemporary, love them. But I was not expecting to see that price point on the homes there.
Are you saying this because they're a guest or legit?
No, I'm saying this because I think it's legit. I think if
you get Tom's stamp of approval for design, I mean, you are. I'm being honest.
Yeah.
You're getting a really good.
Well, because I think if I'm also trying to entice the listeners to go check them out first and do this same process and go take a look at the homes, think about what the price point would be, and then go look on the website and see where you're saying the price point starts at. I think it's impressive what you guys are doing.
I like it. Let's track the hits on the website. Man, your Instagram is nice.
Got some good help on that.
Really well curated. All right, so Nick, you worked at Buildertrend. So how much of that has affected this or influenced this plan? Was it possible? I think it's safe to say from a behind-the-scenes perspective, it's not possible to do this for a building company if you don't have good processes. Buildertrend's a good vehicle. So was that introduced to Josh and Ryan from you? And maybe, Josh, you can jump in afterwards. Is that part of the science behind this?
Yeah. So, I mean, when I first met them, it was just through a mutual friend, and they knew I had this interest in building homes, and something I've kind of had a passion for 15, 20 years. And Buildertrend gave me kind of a lot of confidence with talking with builders and learning the industry and kind of learning the whole management side. Because, I mean, that's realistically, when it comes down to it, with us subbing everything out, we're just a project manager.
Correct.
We're just making sure this gets done on this day, move on to the next step, and we kind of hit that. And so when I approached them, the first thing I said, hey, if we're going to do this, we have to use Buildertrend. This is the only way I'm going to come over and do this. Because, I mean, I've spent the last 3 years, immersing myself in the software and training builders on how to use it day in and day out. And I said, this is what's going to help us achieve what we want and where we want to get to in the future. And it's going to make it very seamless for us.
Well, yeah, I mean, because look, you could do a custom home. I mean, maybe shut your ears. You could do one home a year without Buildertrend. Okay, I'm willing to admit that. One custom home. That's
It would be painful.
That is the line.
It could be easier.
I'll say 1 is my limit.
Okay.
2, you got to use us. But it's impossible to do what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Economies of scale and trying to scale something like that without dialed in processes, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think everybody could admit to that.
And part of your margin that you guys are making is in your efficiencies there, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what you're talking about, finding the right product and finding the right process behind that and how you can scale that for your business, because that ultimately increases your margin, your profit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, up front, that was something we talked about, that using Buildertrend was, Ryan and I had, like I said, we've been in the industry a little bit, and we've seen people use it not to its full potential, and it's how that can sometimes be overwhelming to people that are not using it in the ways that probably it should be.
Sure.
So in talking with Nick and his comfortability with him explaining all the tools that it actually did have, it was a no-brainer just to dive in. And the amount of time we put in up front, making sure that, like you said, our efficiencies down the road, those things are taken care of. It's easy when you've got 4 or 5 projects going on at a time. If you've got 25, you need those processes in place.
Absolutely.
One project, Josh. You didn't get that. No. 4 or 5, you need Buildertrend.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's our official statement. We're sticking with it.
Something I think is interesting that could come up as a question here is you had a unique advantage of having somebody with extreme knowledge of the program. So should other builders who are listening be thinking about hiring people who probably have previous experience with Buildertrend?
We need to keep the lights on your top. You can't take all of our employees.
Well, I know that, but I'm saying,
You need somebody who's got knowledge, not who used to work here.
Yeah,
Because that wouldn't work for
don't
us.
take all our employees. What I'm saying is hiring people who have previous experience with Buildertrend, or are using our certification process, finding people that have gone through that,
I mean, I agree 100% with it, and I saw it in my time here with dealing with clients, hiring other people. I saw people going from one company to another and starting up Buildertrend on them, and their sole reason for getting hired at this other company was because of their experience that they had with utilizing Buildertrend.
Sure.
And, helping them get up and run more efficient. You see it a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's safe to say, right? Like if you have somebody with knowledge of Buildertrend, you're off to the races rather than having to teach everybody. But there's some online ways to do that. We've talked about, and for honestly, we've seen for many years that when construction companies post jobs, they ask for a Buildertrend experience. So that's definitely something people see.
Yeah. So we'd recommend that.
We would recommend
Continue that process.
Do that, yeah. Get certified.
Speaking of process, so when you implemented the software for your business, was there any pushback from anybody else on the team, or was that just part of the buy-in process from the get-go?
I think that's one thing that we were all on board with. Pretty easy.
There was no pushback from Josh or Ryan on it. They're like, hey.
Well, yeah, it sounds like it was part of the plan, right? Which is really important. So let's talk about everything. So we were talking before the podcast that you're starting to implement some of the lead management stuff, right? Is that going to be a part of when prospects come into your wheelhouse, how we manage that and how we keep our eyes on it?
Without a doubt. I mean, any business knows that leads are opportunities. So if you're not managing those and you're not categorizing those and following up with those, that's money down the drain. So that's any business. So
yeah,
Nick's been great at kind of helping us. We've got CRMs in our other business that we know how to use. So being able to have that all within Buildertrend and being able to utilize those and then be able to, transfer those from the lead over to customer is the goal, obviously.
Absolutely.
And have that be seamless, huge part of it.
Yeah, I mean, you would think that everybody would understand that the lead is an opportunity, but we have found, no offense to anybody listening, that in construction that's not always true. So another leg up, right? Be efficient, have processes on the lead management stuff, call people back.
Yeah.
Big one, obvious one.
Yeah.
But big one. And with Buildertrend, as I was talking to you about, you can set these templates, right? Lead comes in your wheelhouse, you apply a template. The calls you want to make are preloaded for you for the next 30 days. The email marketing is preloaded for you. It's going to be really cool for you guys.
Yeah.
Again, that's huge. I mean, for being able to contact people, you've got to be able to have the systems in place. Otherwise, I mean, I've seen builders write down a phone number and a first name on a Post-it note and stick it on their truck dash, and that's a lead to them. And
absolutely,
and it finds the trash can eventually. So be able to have all this stuff categorized on who's hot, who's 6 months out, who's who maybe doesn't know what they're going to do yet. We can do all that within the program. So
absolutely. Well, good. That's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
The number one thing we need to do is have them a recurring guest. A check-in series.
Yeah, we need to see you guys back in 6-8 months.
Right, because this is a really unique story. It's like, okay, we're just getting off the ground. I believe in it. You got me.
Yeah.
Tom,
I'm a believer.
You in?
Remember? I was bought in for the Instagram.
You were bought in before me.
Yeah.
Do you follow?
Of course.
Okay, good.
We can put in an electric outlet in the garage too, just so you know.
Yeah.
There you go.
Ooh.
There's a little Tesla plug.
That's good.
Tesla Tom.
Nice
Perked
sell
up on
there.
that one.
Yeah.
Back in the 3-car garage part of it that you don't realize it's a 3-car garage on that house.
There you go. Yeah.
See?
This is good. So we will have this as a segment, right? So we'll check in 6 months from down the road. We'll see if you sold anything. Here's hoping you do. I believe in it.
Otherwise, I'll be back here working.
Right.
Door's always open. Nick, Josh, hey, if you need somewhere,
Yeah.
you know,
We accept all kinds here.
we're always hiring.
Yeah.
But no, I think you guys got a great plan, and we wish you the best. I think it's going to be something really cool to check in on. So we'll check in a few months, 6 months down the road, see where we're at.
Yeah, and if you've got questions for Evolved, send them over to podcast@buildertrend.com, and we'll send them over to them, and maybe we'll talk about them in the next episode when we bring it back.
Sounds great. Thank
Sounds
you guys
great.
very much.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thanks
All
for
right,
coming
thanks,
on.
guys. Appreciate you.
Love what you heard? Don't forget to rate and subscribe to our podcast so you can hear from more guests that will benefit your business. Also, please check out our show notes page for more information on what we discussed on this episode. You can find it at buildertrend.com/podcast. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on The Building Code.
Appreciate you.